it's going.
Yeah. I never know anymore with the countdown. I'm making a note right now. Episode 14. I will be counting backward. That's what I said. I'll be counting backwards from now on. 3 to 1. No longer 1, 2, 3. I don't know if that's how I used to do it, but that's the new rule.
Yeah, I know that anyone listening won't know because this happens literal seconds before we start an episode, but we have Logan count us off, start recording, so we're synced up. And he has no idea if he does 3, 2, 1 or 1, 2, 3 normally, and I think at this point we don't know either, but it throws us off most of the time anyway, regardless. So it's weird.
We've mentioned it before. Is the thing. I think episode 10 or 11 you brought that up, and the episode starts with me having a panic attack.
Yeah, no, I remember that actually. No, you're right.
And speaking of panic attack, I think I've had like 7 in the past month, and I don't feel good. I don't feel good at all.
Same.
Mentally. Yeah, I think me and Dillon are going through a lot of shit right now. Just to give you an idea on the small talk here, ladies and gentlemen. It's not all bad. Physically, I think I'm doing okay because I've been working out with our good friend The Hump, who we occasionally mention. Still no context, lol, callbacks.
No.
And we finally convinced Nate to go with us. And I don't know if I've talked about this yet. I don't think I have anyway. So just a small thing. I fucked up. I got a membership at the gym that Hump goes to, and it's like $50 a month plus $6 for taxes. So it's $56, like even. And I didn't know that the job I work at, this bowling alley that me and Nathan work at, actually gives you a free benefit of going there for free. I got my money back, like in full, but it was so, like, one, why didn't anyone tell me this, like, before the fact? And secondly, I'm a fucking idiot. I feel so fucking stupid. That was embarrassing. The manager there was super cool. Like, she was super nice about it and absolutely understanding. So she, like, didn't even question it. Like, I didn't even have to have proof that I worked there. I could have totally lied to her, and she wouldn't have known unless, she called the establishment, which is probably what she did. But yeah,
it's probably under the pretense of, like, if you don't work there, you probably wouldn't know you got that benefit. So, like, but also you could just know about it. But still, on the whole, people probably wouldn't know about it much.
Well, like, what if you lie? Like, I mean, like, what if you have a friend that works there and you lie about it? Or you quit working there, which you lose that benefit, then you can't try to keep doing the thing. And I just bumped a controller. Hello. There are ways to lie.
There are many ways to lie.
How you doing, Dillon?
That's a loaded question.
There's a loud silence.
Damn it.
It's a good loud silence. I like it.
I mean, it's
going for the Batman answer.
I mean, if you want to be real with ourselves here, asking someone how they're doing is usually a loaded question.
It is, and I learned that today the hard way.
Yeah, but it's loaded like a cannon.
Yeah.
Not like a usual, like a normal gun. I'm like, you could launch a 50-pound lead cannonball straight through a ship. Kind of loaded.
Yeah, I think I did that today. But that's not important right now.
That is neither here nor there.
No, but for real, though, I know, Dillon, I know you told me, and you've told the rest of the group at this point, but, you are legit going through the worst shit ever. And I'm so sorry, buddy.
It's a lot of personal stuff, which we would not get into. Stay in your own fucking life, you weirdos. But, for all those out there who care, which if you're listening, I hope you do, send Dylan all the love and appreciation on his Twitter. He never checks.
I fucking deleted the app. Don't bother.
Your account still exists at the moment, though. But
for now.
If just send it to the pod Twitter, and I'll force Dylan to read it. And by force, I mean I'll put my phone in front of him while he's eating it or something while we go out somewhere when we go to watch a movie or some shit. I don't know. He'll see it.
Just find one of our social medias and just start throwing love, and we'll know who it's for.
Post pictures of your dick and titties. Dylan will love that.
Or both at the same time.
Really won't.
I really won't. You won't love titties.
No.
Oh,
you liar. You're a liar.
He's a liar. Titties.
Anyway, how you doing, Nate?
Body hurts.
Yeah.
my
that's
legs, my abs. It's just it hurt, but it's progress is what it is. It's progress. By the way, okay, but welcome to the Bloomfeld podcast. I should probably get that out of the way now. It's the podcast about nothing, but sometimes something. But anyway, back to what I was talking about. So, by the way, a little piece of trivia for all those who were super into the podcast lore. So, in the cover image that you see on YouTube and such, and that's associated with this, me, the guy in the middle, with the beanie on, the beanie that illustration is based off of, I no longer own that beanie because I lost it. And that's kind of a funny story to tell, actually, just to get into the episode. So it was the boys. It was me. I think it was me, Logan, and Dillon. And I think Hump was there. I think it was just everyone that's been mentioned so far. I think it was the four of us, and we went out to eat somewhere. And I wore my beanie out. The beanie, of course, that's the basis for the image. And I wore that out. And eventually I was like, I'm going to take it off. My head's getting hot. And I put it like in my pocket of my sweatpants or something. And so I don't really know how it happened, but eventually somehow it fell out of my pocket and I didn't really notice. And then we went to go see a movie. So there was like a 3-hour time frame or so of when I dropped that hat to when I realized I lost it to go look for it. And we started checking where it could possibly be, the restaurant, the parking lot, or whatever. And it just wasn't there. So,
I don't think I was there for that. I don't remember, because like the only movie we've all gone to see together was Multiverse of Madness recently, and because I didn't watch Batman with you guys, it may have been just you and Hump and Dillon, because I don't remember looking for your beanie. I remember you telling me you lost it.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, everyone but Logan was there.
Not really important, but
yeah. But yeah, so it's gone. Just basically, the moral of the story, it's gone. That beanie that I wear in that picture, it is gone. So I can't really complete the ensemble. I still have the jacket, the green colored flannel jacket. I still have that, and I still wear that. There's a new patch on it that represents the job I work at. I put a patch on it, but other than that, it's still the same jacket.
The image is actually like not even accurate, even from the get-go, because I don't wear my PS2 hoodie like all the time, especially not fucking now. It's fucking hot. But like Dillon doesn't wear the headset. He wore it for the first 2 episodes, I think, not episode 3, I don't think, and then either episode 10 or 11, like somewhere in there, before he got a new cord for his mic, because he was having a lot of mic trouble.
Yeah.
So this image is quite outdated by and we're only like 14 episodes in. It's only been a few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not paying to get a fucking new one. This one cost me triple digits, man. But
I mean, barely.
You know, I still love it though. Regardless of how slightly outdated it is, I still love it to death. It's still.
Oh, I don't really give a shit about how outdated it is. I think it's just funny.
Nah, it still encapsulates our personalities well enough, so it's good by me.
Nah, if you want to encapsulate my personality, there needs to be like a demon like choke holding me like the entire time, and like I need to be naked and afraid. But I don't think we could put that on YouTube.
I mean, as long as we get like waist up, I guess it could be doable.
Well, at that point, you're not naked.
I mean, if we were really gonna encapsulate our spirits, we would need to like hire the artist to basically draw me through like CCTV footage and like guards asleep, and basically they replace me and Jeffrey Epstein. Like we swap.
We got swapped.
This is a very specific description. You've had that one in the barrel for a while, haven't you?
Possibly. No, that was actually off the cuff.
God. I wish I had a fifth of that charisma. Anyway.
I just kind of throw shit around and hopefully it's funny. That's my improv genius.
And that's why we'll never get bitches. Anyway, so...
Speak for yourself.
We, as in me and Nathan, Dillon, we know you're an imposter, okay? We're moving on.
Dillon sus.
There are pod episodes of us all claiming to be virgins. And you didn't stop us.
It's outdated now.
It was outdated it was outdated when you said it because it was a lie.
It was outdated when I said it.
I thought you got some in high school.
Well, not completely.
Not like that.
A blowjob is sex. Moving on.
This is getting really personal.
Oh my god. Oh, you can edit this out.
Not now.
I'm just being bitter that he lied.
It's not lying. It's like I don't consider that to be the same.
You're wrong.
They are two very related activities, but they are not the absolute same.
I mean, we have a pretty good story about whenever I learned that information.
It's not a sin if it goes up the butt, mother. That's what Jesus taught us.
Well, no, it's
Wait,
not about like
is there,
whether
like,
it's
a
a
song
sin or
about
not.
that?
I don't give a fuck about that. Yeah, the loophole song. Anyway, it's just like the intimacy of the two acts is different, in my opinion, by a lot.
I mean but that's not the argument I'm having though. What you're talking about is a completely separate thing, and I agree with you, but that's not at all what I'm saying.
I mean, I think if I had to throw my hat in the ring, getting your dick sucked does not equal losing your virginity. I don't think that really equates.
No, it's close, but like it's not quite
Close. It's close.
It's like diet soda. You're almost there, but it's not the real thing.
Diet soda is the biggest conspiracy in the history of mankind. You think, oh, it's better for you? No, it's fucking not. It's worse.
It's about the same or worse. Yeah, you're right.
If you want to like drop sugary drinks, then don't drink the sugary drink. Stick to juice or water.
Pick up Coke as a hobby.
Well, they did. It's Diet Coke.
I mean, I think we talk about White Lightning or.
He's talking about.
How do you think I kicked my soda addiction? By healthy means? No, you trade one addiction for another.
No, I assumed you just cut yourself off and just dealt with the withdrawal like some kind of psychopath. That's something my dad did. My dad is the type of person that can just cut things off. Like he used to chew snuff, like baseball players. He'd have it in the front of his mouth, like in between his teeth and his bottom lip. Running around with that big jaw line going on. Nah, he just fucking. And then one day he was like, I don't like it anymore, and he stopped. Yeah. Like just like that. It's like, how do you do that shit?
It's pretty easily, to be honest.
Fuck you. All right. That's bullshit. Well, I can't kick any habit.
So, like, do you want to... I would like for Dillon to tell a story if we were going to tell it. Do you want to tell a story of my overreaction initially to your high school escapades?
Okay, so in high school, we were all, no bitch having individuals.
No bitch having ass.
And so... the summer between my junior year and my senior year, I had actually improved my style a bit. I lost a decent amount of weight, and unknown to Nathan Logan at the time, I was talking again to one of the girls I had talked to over the course of high school. And one time me and Nathan were just going on a walk talking about stuff, and being the virgins we are, we started talking about like blowjobs and stuff. And then Nathan started saying stuff, and I started countering it, and he started realizing, he's like, what do you mean? He's like, because he
what do you mean,
he realized I was starting to have more knowledge than he was. And he just looked at me, and I'm like, I had a productive junior year summer, Nathan. And this man looked like he was ready to kill me.
Because you're an imposter.
Yeah, Nathan was mad.
It was a weird day.
Nathan was mad at me because he's like, I thought me and you were the same. I thought we were on the same level. I'm like, Nathan, how does it make me on a different level? Because I got like 2 blowjobs in high school.
2?
Okay, I don't know the exact number.
You don't. Oh my god. Dylan.
It was not that
fucking
many.
poon hound.
It was not that many.
I mean, I feel like
high school.
I feel like the best part of this story, though, because this was the same day where so much weird shit was happening. First off, there was like we were walking on a trail together, so like Dillon, we were like side by side walking. It wasn't like in a car or anything, so Dillon couldn't tuck and roll. But there was a dip in the trail where like the right side kind of dips down, and the left side stays stable, if not kind of dips up a little bit. And I was in the side that dipped down, and I'm taller than Dillon, so whenever me and Dillon all of a sudden got at eye level, Yeah, allegedly. But whenever me and Dillon were all of a sudden eye level, we looked at it, it's like, what, wait, what the fuck? Wait, hold on.
I have photographic evidence Nathan is taller than Dillon. Don't let him gaslight you kids.
Yeah,
Like I
you
was
also used
gaslighting
to say
that it
you were
wasn't a guy.
you used to say you were 5'11". I proved you were 5'9". So
I was 5. I said 5'10", Dylan. First of all, if you're going to attack me, at least be accurate.
But yes, Nathan is the tallest house because he's a fucking freak show. Man was
I
6
am
foot tall
very-
when he was like 13.
I'm massive. Yes, that is very true. Also fat. Well, I mean, not fat, but like chunky. I'm definitely chunky. But another thing that me and Dillon love to talk about to this day, because I have no idea what possessed me to do this, but I had the most
Oh my god.
the most abominable drip on that day.
It does not deserve the title of drip.
Okay, this abominable sheets of clothing on is what I had.
What were you wearing?
So I was wearing my black and white black and white Velcro shoes with high white socks, cargo shorts, and a yellow t-shirt.
He simultaneously looked like a Boy Scout and the Boy Scout camp counselor that I would not trust near my children.
Yeah,
That's great. That's disturbing.
I don't know why I looked like that. I was like, oh man, this is comfy, and it was comfy, but I looked like a fucking dick.
Yeah, so troop leader Bloomfeld was about ready to kill me for committing sin, premarital
You-
sin.
Man, you were without me. Oh god.
Wasn't a boy. Want to be very clear, it was a
Shit, he's
woman.
Catholic. Oh no.
Oh no. I don't know if I want to keep that in.
Definitely cut that.
You can cut that out too if you want.
Yeah, let's not. Let's not bridge that.
Maybe that whole conversation should probably get cut. If I'm being perfectly honest.
Maybe we
I
should
took
cut
us.
the
I'm
first
sorry,
half.
Dylan. I didn't mean to take us down this road. That was just
I mean-
a jab. It could have been
Look, now,
nothing.
here's the
and
thing.
It
I'd be
excelled.
more than willing to just start, firing off some opinions, but we all have collectively agreed that we do not want to get political on this podcast whatsoever. So we're moving on.
Yeah. It's not
That
really
would
the
not
aim.
be political. It'd just be a fucking fact. But
That's true.
that's fair. We don't talk about facts on Bloomfeld. We talk about nothing and sometimes something. But that something is not facts.
No,
what it is
that's something.
is bullshit. We talk about bullshit and then nothing, and then bullshit and then nothing, and then bullshit for about 2 more episodes and then nothing again.
Yes.
So,
We rarely
that's how we
actually have something that's important to talk about.
Not to mention,
Oh,
had to get that one in.
had to slip it in. You
It only
bitch.
took 18 minutes. It only took 18 minutes.
Speaking of 18 minutes, shit, we're fuck.
Only took 18 minutes to slip it in. That sounds very familiar.
Sorry, it's my first time.
What the fuck? It took you 18 minutes?
No.
That's
God,
good.
you imagine
Well,
18
what?
minutes of just like, oh, sorry, is that
Oh no! If,
shit?
if
it's
you're
slipping.
asking
Oh,
if
sorry.
that was over in 18 minutes, no, the actual thing itself was like an hour. It was like an hour plus.
Nice.
I don't even know how to respond to this.
I just,
I don't even. I don't know if he's. I feel like he's definitely lying.
I'm not.
But good for you.
I mean, it was uncomfortable car sex, so like,
That's true.
I mean, I feel like it's
No.
uncomfy.
Now, legitimately, there came a point where I was like, "Am I gonna have to fake?"
That's,
What the fuck?
That's a question a
I
man
shit
should
you
not
not.
ask.
No,
I don't want to. Dylan. I don't want to have this conversation.
That's fair.
I do not. I don't care about you laying pipe, man. That's your business.
Yeah, getting into it.
Even though
Content,
I
baby.
I am the reason we're having this conversation, and I didn't want to have it in the first place. I just called you an imposter, and it spiraled into a 15-minute conversation about you laying pipe and getting blowies in high school. Meanwhile, I'm over here. I'm older than you by like a year or two. I'm 21, and I've not had anything.
I mean,
And granted, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's
nah.
like There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's just a matter of
there's no
I'm
virgin
pathetic.
shaming here. It's just it's funny to us.
It-
We're not shaming you. We're shaming us.
I'm not saying these stories to put anyone down. I'm saying it for the content, baby.
no, I'm not saying you are. No, I'm just hard on myself, and
I'm hard on Nate's
I'm-
mom.
I'm
Hey, yo.
I don't know what's going on anymore.
We're 20 minutes in, and all of this has to get cut.
No, this is gonna be our short topic. I mean, Nathan can cut what he wants, but this will be our short topic. We'll just go. I'll tell you. Let's go 15, maybe 20 minutes overtime for this
Nathan.
episode.
I mean, we just
Nathan.
kind of do whatever. Yes.
I would like to cash in that $1 you owe me, as in, forget paying me $1. Leave it all in. The last
know if all
20
that's
minutes.
worth $1.
The last 20 minutes of footage. Leave it in.
That's worth
Alright.
at least $6.
I mean, I'll leave in some things. Oh, well,
Some
okay,
of
I'll
those
leave in
things
most
do
of
have
it.
to get bleeped.
No,
at
that's
least.
what I'm
No.
getting at. We go.
I'll leave in
overtime to
most
make
of it,
up
but
for
there are
what
gonna be some bleeps
doesn't.
though. That's
That's
for
fair.
sure.
I'm not even
that's
talking bleeps. No, you probably just need to cut, like, remove all of that. Not all of it, but like a good chunk of it.
I mean, I already know what I want to. I consciously think of what I want to remove before I even start editing. Like I have.
Oh, we all know what you got to remove, Nathan. The
Oh,
audience
no.
doesn't know. Current
No,
events
no.
got too current for me. Sorry.
current events got too current.
I'm so sorry.
All right,
not been a
so
good day.
I'm stepping in executively because I'm the host. God damn it!
About time.
So this is going to be the very first, hopefully not too many of these, but it's going to be the very first fuck the format episode. We're 21 minutes in, and how much mileage could we really get out of topics? So just what else do you got to fucking say, boys? Let's just get into it.
I mean, I don't know.
Basically, just act like if you have a topic, but it's very loose.
Like Nate's mom.
I mean,
Hey,
we were
fuck,
kinda
I'll
doing
kill you.
that
I'll kill
already.
you.
We were kind of doing that already. I
You'll
don't
be
know.
doing me a favor, Nathan.
Last
my
episode was
thumb
the
in your
depressing
goddamn
one, so
eye.
I don't know if I really. Jesus Christ, you just got so violent all of a sudden.
Sorry.
I don't know what to make of this sometimes. I really don't. And my dad's pulling in. Hello.
Oh,
I
hello.
can see him on the camera.
As I think I thought of a loose thought after Logan's.
No, I don't think I have one. Is the thing. I was like, now that he's mentioned it, I've kind of lost the vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe I
So-
shouldn't have mentioned it. I think I fucked it.
Don't ask why, because I'm not getting into specifics. But I have discovered glues are very flammable.
Oh yeah, you're like burning your legs off and shit.
No, I didn't burn my legs off. Let's just say I got a skin burn from experiments with adhesives, and I will leave it at that.
Ooh, yeah. I do remember you talking about that.
Be careful of mixing super glue or like flex glue and like synthetic fibers.
But Dylan, this thing you're referring to, I thought you mentioned this on the podcast already.
Sort of, but like it's turned into a whole different animal at this point. And this is one of those things where it's like, you know, I'm just gonna give him a little taste, just like Frank Reynolds throwing a champagne balloon at homeless people. Just a taste of the good life.
Dylan, do not beat up the mentally ill.
I'm not beating up the mentally ill. I'm just talking about how I got like glue burns.
I know you're not currently, but don't do it. Don't do it later.
No,
And
I
look.
have no intention on beating up the mentally ill.
And I'm gonna
That's
start.
debatable.
It's gonna be like Always Sunny with the homeless tournament. I'll just do that, but like with a psych ward. That'll make
Look.
a lot of money.
No one wants to admit it, but like a homeless person fight club would be pretty dope.
I mean, I'll go to a homeless person fight club.
I would be homeless just to participate in a homeless fight club.
I'm still in favor of Alien versus Predator.
Ooh,
that would be good. It's like, all right, you want your U.S. citizenship? Help Chris Hansen hunt down pedophiles.
Dude, honestly, I honestly think like that would be like a great way to do it. Like in a safe environment, obviously. Don't send
like-
them out there like they're in the friggin'
I just thought of
you know?
something hilarious because you know how like Chris Hansen's like really forward. He's like, how about you take a seat? It's like, I want him to like be sitting in the back of a pickup truck and he drives to a Home Depot and grabs a bunch of undocumented migrant workers and he's like, take a seat. He's like, all right. And he just says the most stereotypical names ever. And then he's like, all right, so if you want to become U.S. citizens, you're going to help me track down this sick fuck. And you're going to beat his ass.
What if we did like a Mission Impossible thing, but he's still like, formal about it, like you said it. And he's like, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to make the world a safer place for children.
Should you accept it? Oh, shit. That's kind of a weird thing. This is getting weirdly off topic with like something kind of serious, actually. Do you guys know what deepfakes are?
Yeah.
Deepfakes was like you basically something like on the internet where a decent chunk of people believe something is real, but it's actually not, like some kind of internet trend or something.
To my understanding of what a deepfake is, it's like basically.
This is what we have Google for.
I know a decent bit about deepfakes. I can probably explain it.
Is it like it's like a type of like non-existent virtual personality that's like taking over someone else's personality online or something like that, right?
Deepfakes are a technology that are allowing you to superimpose someone else's face onto someone else's body, but it looks like them. Or you can even deepfake. You could deepfake, say like in that movie The Irishman with Robert De Niro. They deepfake him to look like he's 30 years old again. It's just this.
You're talking about
insane
digitally changing a face. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it can be anything from changing a face to make someone look younger or older, or what's really terrifying is like putting someone else's face on an entirely different person, and sometimes it is seamless. So it's like throwing into question like a lot of people where it's like, you know, video evidence won't like hold up in court because of deepfake technology. It's also being used for like porn and shit, but
yeah,
that's the thing is like I think they're already being used in like for political slander and stuff like that, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
There's a ton of the current administration.
Well, that's the thing. Imagine you're a politician. You're the guy running against you is a dumpy old white guy. You find a video of a dumpy old white guy like getting caught at like a freaking like hooker orgy. You superimpose his face on it. Boom, smear campaign. Like
perfect.
Easy.
I mean,
yeah, for me.
I mean, let's be real, Dillon. In today's world, that wouldn't be the tip of the iceberg.
I mean, it would be super believable because that shit happens. Like,
they've done
politicians
worse.
fucking their cousins. But we're not getting into that.
No, that's funny. That better stay.
Okay, you know,
that's staying.
Okay, no, we'll get into that in a second then. But what I was talking about, I can't remember where I saw this at, so you can take this with a grain of salt. But it was the most fucking out there, weird, demented shit that I've ever heard. And it's like this shit where people were proposing, like, to use deep fakes, or like the type of technology at least, to simulate and create, like, I don't want to say too much so YouTube doesn't have a hissy fit, but basically the Predator thing we were talking about earlier, the stuff that they're into, you know what I mean? They want to use those type of technology to make fake versions of that to, you know, just ward off predators so they have, air quotes, legal content so they would stop doing their thing. I think it's deplorable, but it's just like, what?
I don't care who you are. That is deplorable. You should be taken out back and shot for that.
It's something I didn't want to get too deep into. It's just, you brought up the alien predator thing, and it's like, oh, might as well mention this little thing, get a little dark for a second before we move on.
This little thing. Oh, you know, this just teeny tiny, you know, little...
This little thing, yeah. Freaking
the smallest you accidentally shot
that
your
was
dad
actually
to
in the
death in an
bowling
alley.
alley. Yeah, the bowling alley. I was about to mention that.
Oh no.
So we in the bowling alley, me and Logan work out. We have these monitors that are like at the end of the bowling, like right in front of the pins, like the lanes, like above the pins. I mean. And we had like a news station on one, and it just straight up is just like someone talking, like, you know, a very formal news person talking, and the background it just says CP. It's like, whoa, hey, slow down.
It's That's a family-friendly bowling alley for all, where we have CP on the news.
Oh my
They have
God.
to change that. Who wants to watch the news when they're at a bowling alley?
There's
Yeah.
some weirdo.
Just put the sports channel on. Like, come on. Or put a cartoon on. You can't hear anything anyway.
That's also true.
It's, I don't know. I don't know how to run a business, I guess.
So I got another non sequitur if you guys want to talk about anything else about this weird shit this
No,
weird
let's get
tangent
off
we're
Now
on.
let's clean our hands of this entire everything.
Yeah, probably. So yeah, I beat Resident Evil 8 today.
Hell
Oh, great. We can
yeah.
talk about something we actually doesn't make us uncomfortable.
Well, I mean, Resident Evil 8 makes you uncomfortable in a different way, but
That's scarier.
nah.
Look-
I mean, me and Logan were talking about it a little bit today. Like, the actual scariness scale and how much it's creepy and shit of Resident Evil 8, it goes from, the game starts out with like a Resident Evil 7 atmosphere, then it goes to Resident Evil 4, then it fucking nosedives into Silent Hill territory, goddammit, and then it just kind of
That's
picks
Silent
back up
Hill.
Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, that's Resident Evil 4 again. So, this
We can
could
talk,
go on
okay,
for-
spoilers, we're going to talk about Resident Evil 8, so
the
fuck
game's
you.
over a year old. If
I
they
mean,
haven't played
it's
it yet,
important
then it's their
still.
fault. I mean, yeah, it is. It's just it's a year old. If you were gonna play it, I feel like you would have done it by now. And if you haven't, you're stupid. Anyway,
Good game.
no, I'm kidding. So we've all played it. I know me and Dillon have, and then now you just finished it. I don't remember a lot of the game because I only played it the one time at the time of this recording, and I remember a couple things stood out to me. Lady D, for obvious reasons, but not the reasons, not all the obvious reasons you're thinking.
Not the four reasons you're thinking of.
No, the five. And Heisenberg? Heisenberg,
Yes.
Heisenberg.
Heisenberg is a highlight.
Chris, and the ending. Those are my main points that I would want to talk about lore-wise. Gameplay-wise and structure is a little odd. I think Resident Evil 8 overall, just to give a non-spoiler quick review here. Resident Evil 8, great game. Probably one of the best in the series for gameplay. Like, really well done. Take 7, and in terms of gameplay, makes it even better. Better enemy variety, more weapons, better weapons, and I think overall the pacing is really good for what the game is.
I have one small gripe with the gameplay, and that's just like it's a really minor thing, but I have a small gripe with it, and that is the inventory space. Now, I get it. Having more inventory is great, and being able to carry around more bullshit, that's cool. But me personally, I don't know. I like the classic Resident Evil feel of having a very constricted inventory and needing to micromanage that shit and also have like a box to put away things that you don't need right now and get them later, instead of just having everything on your person at once and just throwing stuff away that you don't need. I mean, it's not a bad system. It works, and it's good, but I just prefer Resident Evil 7 a little bit more in that regard. Everything else, gameplay-wise, though, is superb.
That's Resident Evil 4. You have Resident Evil 4 to thank for that, because the attaché system, where you play Tetris with your equipment, is from Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, that's straight up Resident Evil 4.
And this game is loaded with that bullshit. Like,
It's oozing Resident Evil 4.
Like, if you've ever played 4, even down, like, almost every section could be whittled down to Resident Evil 4, because it begins in a village, you go to a castle, and then you deal with a militaristic factory base. That is literally all 3/3 of Resident Evil 4.
There's
Start
little
in the
bits and
village.
pieces strewed in to make it its own thing,
Yes,
give its own identity, but overall, yeah.
The most important sections of the game, I would argue, is the village, because it's Resident Evil Village. Then you go to a castle, which takes up a good chunk of the game and starts off the game proper, like really gets you into the villains and stuff. And one of the big climactic parts of the game is in that factory, because after you get done with Heisenberg, the game just slows down until you get to the final boss, really, because it's not like it's difficult to play Chris's section. In that regard, Resident Evil 4, or Resident Evil 8, I'm sorry, Resident Evil 8...
What's the difference?
For me, gets a little too close to 4, and I think it's only going to be worse when the third-person mode comes out.
Oh, yeah, that's
Because
going to
then
be cool, but...
It is, but it's also going to be, man, that Resident Evil 4 remake looking really redundant right now.
I mean,
because they are making that.
if you're gonna be, a bit more on the positive side about it, it takes a lot of good inspiration from 4 to make its own game. If you're gonna
It
be a little
does.
bit negative about it, it's a little too derivative at some points.
I that's my point
Bullshit.
of contention.
Bullshit.
Well, you probably don't even. I mean, well, Nathan doesn't either, but you
I
probably
just know
don't even
bits and
care,
pieces.
Dylan, because you've never played Resident Evil 4.
Nah, I fucking
doubt you
love
will.
Resident Evil 8.
No, I love it too. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's the best game in the series. I just there are times where I'm wondering why, because Resident Evil 7, in my opinion, did it right when they were like emulating an older Resident Evil game. It helped that the atmosphere was a bit different when 7 came out because we hadn't had a classic Resident Evil game at that point since 2002 with one remake and Resident Evil 0. Those were the final classic Resident Evil games. The whole survival horror aspect of it. And when 7 came out, that was a big deal. It was like a modern interpretation of that formula, and it worked really, really well. Resident Evil 8 is emulating probably the most famous third-person shooter on the planet. Only now it's a first-person, and it's on the 7 engine and all that.
Yeah.
So it comes off as more apparent and a little more shallow in that regard. That doesn't hurt the game entirely, especially if you're like Dylan and Nate who haven't played the game. And Resident Evil 8 you could see as superior to 4 in a lot of ways because with the modern gaming conventions we have now, the game feels better than 4 in some ways because 4, even though it was a game in 2005, it still had tank controls and stuff like that, and
It's a little
the aiming's
weird.
a little weird. Yeah, the aiming's a little weird, especially in the 60 FPS versions. But 4 ends up being a solid game, I think, mostly because Capcom just kind of lets loose in this one. And it does a good job at being self-aware, which Resident Evil is simultaneously great at and then bad at.
Yeah.
Because it loves to be cheesy, but it never makes fun of itself enough. And maybe that's the joke. Maybe they're like, oh, the fact that they don't even acknowledge how ridiculous this all is, or at least nothing off the top of my head, is the joke. It's kind of like Kingdom Hearts. Some people interpret it as like, well, the fact that they're taking it, playing it completely straight, maybe that's the joke. But with Resident Evil 8, they do a great job of actually making fun of how ridiculous this series actually is.
I
Like
mean, Heisenberg just exemplifies that. Fucking love
Yes.
that guy. Because his voice acting is, like, it is so fucking cheesy and over-exaggerated. Like, he's a cartoony villain in the way he speaks and the way he enunciates things. And it's fucking amazing.
And boulder punching bitch. That is
Boulder
like
punching
the
bitch
best
its entirety.
Resident Evil voice line I've heard since 2 on 2.
Yes.
So
And
I
something
love
else
it.
about, if I want to talk about voice acting at least, well, this isn't really a super voice acting because I got nothing against the guy who does the voice of Ethan Winters. But in Resident Evil 7, quite frankly, Ethan was fucking boring. I did not care for him whatsoever. That's more of a direction. Just voice acting was a good segue to it, I guess. That's more of a direction. It's not his fault. But I found him kind of boring and very stale.
That also was the whole "you are the player" thing. They were going for in 7. I would argue as well.
Yeah, so they
Not
didn't
just
make
the
him
direction.
talk a bunch. But Resident Evil
Yeah.
8, they went full bore, like butts to nuts. Let's just make Ethan a character now. And I appreciate it vastly. He is so much more entertaining and much more of a fun character in 8. I like him more in that
Yeah.
game by a ton.
about
Despite the
you,
fact that
Dylan?
I'd say I like 7 a little more, his character's better in 8.
No, I agree. I like 7 more. What about you, Dylan? What do you think of Ethan as a character, especially now that, spoiler warning, his arc is now done with
Fucking dead.
I mean, having played 7 and then immediately going into 8, I can definitely agree with Nathan. Like, he is kind of bland in 7, but in 8, they definitely do crank it up a lot. And, I gotta give him props. I'm a sucker for self-sacrifice, and my man went down with some fucking balls.
That was some meat, is what he did.
Yeah,
Ethan's story is kind of sad. I'm still a little bit confused on 100% of how he went down. I'm assuming the idea is, well, he spent so much time at the Baker house and shit, and he did just straight up die in the Baker house. But the mold brought him back, so if he was attached to the mold, so killing Miranda and stopping the Megamycete shit like that would kill him too, because he's just more mold than man.
That's exactly what it was. When he beat Mia and Jack knocks you out, Jack killed him. He was dead. The reason he came back to life at the dinner table was because of Eve corrupting him, because again, Eve wanted Ethan to be her dad. So Eve corrupted him with the mold, and he came back to life.
Yeah, and also fucking Spencer out of nowhere in a document inspired to create Umbrella because of Miranda. I was like, what the fuck?
That is like the lowest hanging fruit they could have possibly done. How many more games are going to keep Spencer around considering he's been dead since 2009?
I mean, they didn't straight up like make him a big point. He was just like a throwaway line. Yeah, like his note was just throwaway. In the book.
They're just like, yeah, the inspiration for Umbrella was this. It's like, good lord, man. It's like, how many more layers of an origin do we need for the original T-Virus?
Yeah,
Could we
and
just,
I do appreciate one thing.
Like it was fine. Okay, it was fine. 0 was stupid, so they changed it in 5. It was fine there. They were trying to clean up their act after 4, and then they were like, yeah, do it again.
Do it again. I will give them props, though. I do like the small nod to Resident Evil 5, because he did mention in his note to Miranda that he found a virus he was going to work with in Africa, which is cool.
Yeah, I mean, but they have to now, because that's the canon. They can't just not acknowledge. I guess they didn't have to acknowledge it, but it's weird. Like, the story of 8, I think is pretty good. I like what they like you guys said. I like what they did with Ethan here. Like, I think he is 10 times better than what he was in 7.
Now, I don't think, truth be told, I like Ethan now. He's not a bad character. I don't think he is in the same ballpark as other Resident Evil characters.
Oh no, not even close.
No,
not even close.
That's the sad thing about him not being in that many games. He only has 2 games to his name, and he's only good in one of them. That kind of, dims his odds a bit. But I think he is still a good character. It's just hard to stack up to, like, Jill or Chris or even Rebecca.
Well, here's the thing with Ethan. He works because he acts like an actual realistic human being, whereas Chris and everyone else was like, zombie invasion. I mean, I got this. I got a pistol and a knife.
Master of unlocking, you say.
Yeah, right? When... you can't change the legacy characters, but when you make new characters, you can play around with it for a little bit. And I think that Ethan was their perfect opportunity to do that. They just didn't know how to do it until, 7 came along, and they're like, all right, we can make this a little better. And then 8, he gets pissed. He's like, I'm sorry, how does this happen again? And you know what? Anyone in that situation would probably be asking the same thing. It's like, I literally fought a demon, and I'm doing it again. And my wife got shot.
Bitch.
My wife got shot. To death by
Daddy
Chris
Redfield shot my wife.
What did you guys think of the opening when Chris shoots Mia? Like, I mean,
it's
me and Nate
very
the
shocking.
Trailer, but what about you, Dylan?
I mean, I do love how the game starts. It's all like peaceful and stuff. It's like, oh, we're taking care of our daughter and stuff. And then you get swatted. Not did you get swatted. You get swatted by fucking Chris Redfield, who repeatedly shoots your wife in front of you and refuses to answer any of your questions. Just says, "Fuck you, Ethan," and then has you kidnapped. I mean,
kicks
that's
down your
base as
door,
hell.
shoots your wife, doesn't elaborate, kidnaps you.
Shoots your wife and then double taps her in the head.
And loses your daughter.
Yes.
God. So, what else can we talk about Resident Evil 8? I'm gonna talk about some key points, at least for me. First off, Heisenberg as a whole, we already mentioned him. He's just cheesy goodness. Fucking love that guy.
I wish he had more time to unload. I think that, and that's actually my problem with Lady D, but we'll get to that in a second. Heisenberg got the best of it, I think, out of all the villains in this game.
His factory is definitely one of the longer sections in the game, other than, like, the castle, I think.
But I'm talking exclusively the part where he talks to you and you're in that chair and then he throws you in that pit and you got to deal with the fan.
Yeah.
Like, he talks about, like, his life here and how things worked, and there's probably more files in the game. That's the cost of playing a game one time. You don't remember everything exactly, but I really enjoyed when he starts talking about his life growing up there in the village with Mother Miranda, and all these nice little lore facts about him and the other characters. It really adds a layer. Yeah, I'm interested. I want to hear more about this, and then it's cut short because Ethan doesn't want to hear any of it. I would have liked if he just had just a little more time, like get on the PA system and shit talk Ethan about how hard your life was.
Yeah, I enjoyed Heisenberg, because here's the thing about this is a little personal thing about me, just when it comes to storytelling. I am an absolute sucker for. I know it's a trope. I know it's cliche and shit. I don't care. I'm an absolute sucker for the villain who's like, join me and together we can da da da. I don't know. I like that. And whenever Heisenberg is like, we'll work together to take down that bitch Miranda,
lady supersized bitch.
Like supersized bitch.
That's the thing.
Heisenberg
had
a
point. Heisenberg wasn't even truly a villain. He just wanted to do something extremely immoral in order to accomplish his goal. Use your chopped up daughter.
Yeah, he was like, I will use Rose, and I will kill that bitch. Every time he said the word bitch, it just like, bitch.
He's like Scary Terry. He really emphasized the B.
Bitch. Yeah, no, it's good
like
stuff.
Everyone looks like Markiplier.
Of course.
Anything you want to add about Heisenberg, Dylan?
Nah, I mean, y'all have covered most of it. I mean, Heisenberg was just dope. I mean, a fucking German man with, like, magnetic powers just being like, well, Ethan Winters, we finally made... The line, the moronic freak, psycho doll freak or whatever, lady supersized bitch.
Another great line.
Because two of the best characters in the game for me are Lady D and Heisenberg, and like they don't. I wish they had more dialogue because they bicker like cats and dogs. They fucking hate each other, and I love it.
That was. Oh, sorry, Nate. Go ahead.
I've seen like a comic. It's just a small thing. I've seen a comic where Lady D is just like, oh man, I have this headache that just keeps coming in and out, and then Heisenberg walks in and is like, oh, here it comes again.
That actually kind of segues into what I wanted to talk about with Lady D. I think Lady D was the biggest tease Capcom's ever done for a video game that I've seen personally, because they make her out like she's a very, very pivotal part of the game, and she's the first to go. She's the first to get taken out.
First part of the game. That's kind of the sad part about, one, Resident Evil games are short. Let's face it, that's just how they are. I mean, I beat Resident Evil 8 in about 9 hours, and that's an oversized playthrough. That's kind of a long playthrough for Resident Evil 8. There's an achievement for beating the game in 3 hours. So,
right, around 8 to 10 is usually an average for Resident Evil games for me.
Yeah. So just let's face it, they're kind of short games, though.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing with that. Whenever you have 5 separate villains, because you have the 4 lords, then Miranda. When you have 5 separate villains in the game, and it's a short game, you don't get a ton of time to really dedicate to any of them, really. So hyping any of them up, even Miranda in some cases, just doesn't really pay off that well.
Yeah, I think that Lady D was the worst of it, though, because Capcom particularly advertised her. And we all know why. Because
it was a thirst trap.
They knew what they were doing from day one.
Vampire Dommy Mommy.
Vampire Milky Milkers.
She's going to be playable in Mercenaries mode, by the way, when the DLC drops later this year.
It's going to be so cool.
And I think that when she dies, it's kind of like, well, that's disappointing a little bit. She's partially here to be eye candy. And that
kind of, yeah.
Resident Evil's no stranger to doing eye candy. That's not a problem with me. I just wish she was there longer. I wish there was more to her. That's
her boss fight was cool, but due to being like the first major boss fight, it's kind of easy.
Well, Resident Evil's never really been known for hard bosses unless they're difficult for stupid reasons, like all the boss fights in the classic games.
Yeah. Well, you want to know what one of my more disappointing like moments of Resident Evil 8 actually was?
I mean, I would rather you do tell it, otherwise we're kind of stuck here with silence.
That's very true. It was the boss fight with the fucking doll, like in the house of Beneviento. It's just you're just running around the house and find a doll, and you stab it in the face.
See,
Okay, then.
that was another point of contention I have with this game is because it emulates Resident Evil 4 so much that it also emulates Resident Evil 4's problems. The puzzles in this game are fucking brain dead. Like there
Yeah,
are
I
some
mean,
that are fun, but they are very, very, very simple, and
yeah, the
it's not
the
great.
in, the entire game. It really doesn't have puzzles. You were 100% right. The only puzzles you get that are good, and I will admit they're very good actually, is, again, like I mentioned, the House of Beneviento. The puzzles in the basement of the dollhouse are great. We'll get to the rest of that in a minute because I do want to talk about that because I'm scarred. Anyway, got any more talking points before we get to that?
I don't really think it's. The castle had a few which were okay. I even got lost in the castle once or twice.
I got lost in the factory.
The factory, yeah, the factory goes on a little long and can be confusing, but I think the castle was probably the highlight for me, just because it was the closest to classic Resident Evil in terms of balance. Because the House of Beneviento, I think, was cool, but I think, well, one, I think it emulates Lucas's section of Resident Evil 7 a little too much, and not it just going full bore on the puzzle aspect was okay. I just feel like now they're on this like side thing, not side thing, but they were on this weird kick again where they don't balance the puzzle aspect and the action of Resident Evil on this game, and it's weird because Resident Evil 4 kind of had a similar issue where there were puzzles, but they were so infrequent, and they usually kind of happened pretty close to each other. At least it felt like they did. So it comes off as a little shallow. It's like, all right, it's puzzle time, and this is all you're doing for like half an hour. It's like, it's weird. The castle actually kind of had a decent balance of puzzles and exploration and fighting, and that's why I think it was probably the best one for me because, like we said, it goes from Resident Evil 7, 4, Silent Hill, and then Resident Evil 4 again for the rest of the journey. I'm not kidding, because there is the closest thing we have to 7 / the classic games is the castle. Then it nosedives into Silent Hill, I guess, and then it's Resident Evil 4 for the entire journey. Like there's a puzzle where you like move these. It's before you fight the sea monster boss. I don't remember their names.
Morio or Moray?
Mario,
Mario.
Shrek. You mess with these lights and they kind of like flicker around. It's one of those weird like grid by grid puzzles. I don't even know exactly how to describe it, but it is so simple when you realize it's sideways.
Yeah, at first you look at it as like, oh shit, how do I do this? It's like, oh, it's not oriented right.
It is one of those puzzles that catches you off guard at first, and after your first playthrough, you can finish it in 10 seconds. And again, like literally, you can do that in Resident Evil 4. All the puzzles can be solved in that game in less than a minute.
Yeah,
And
that's
Resident Evil
the
8
disappointing.
It kind of falls into that.
Yeah, that's the disappointing thing is the original Resident Evil games, granted I haven't played many of them, but the original Resident Evil games had a good mix of exploration, puzzle solving, and zombie fighting. Nowadays, as we get more into modern Resident Evil, it kind of drops the puzzle part. Now, Resident Evil 7 did a pretty good job, but then they kind of nosedived again Resident Evil 8, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that they had something going with 7. Because 7, none of the puzzles were super brain taxing, but they were fun. They were creative. And 8, I think, again, the dollhouse is fine. It's just, this is like, it's basically the puzzle section of the game. When you get there, you do your puzzles, and then for the rest of the game, it is basically shooty, shooty, bang, bang. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. It just makes it feel very disjointed on multiple playthroughs. Like, even though I have only played the game the one time through, I was seeing it as I was going through. Like, I could, because I do that with games now that I'm older and I can see this stuff. Every time I feels like something's disjointed, it's like, I'm going to notice this a lot more when I play this game again. Like, I know I am. It's kind of like in Final Fantasy VII Remake when just some chapters are nothing but linear action pieces, and then some chapters are just kind of an open world deal where you have side quests and stuff, like very basic fetch quests and et cetera, et cetera. It's like, this feels very disjointed. Not bad, just oddly disjointed. Like the pace doesn't know what to do with itself at this point.
Yeah, I can 100% agree with you on that. I feel like Resident Evil 7 did a good job at that whenever it came to, like, there's some areas that are more puzzle heavy or combat heavy. That is true. But I felt like the balance in the generalized areas of the game was pretty decent. I feel like it had a good balance of there was a couple puzzles here and there was a couple shit to shoot here and there, and then there were some sections that were heavy on either or. There was never a time where I thought this whole game is just a shooting gallery and then there's a puzzle section here.
Because in 7 they came in spurts, like short spurts. With 8, it's long stretches. And when you get out of the House of Benevento, or however you say, I keep saying that wrong.
I think it's Beneviento.
Beneviento. When you finish that one, you are done with puzzles for the rest of the game. There are one or two, but again, they are so easy. I barely count them. Like, you are doing one thing for the rest of the game, and that's kicking ass, and that's fine. Again, that's fine. People probably prefer that to a degree. I'm sure Dillon does, because I think you prefer 8 to 7, don't you, Dillon?
Yes, because I admit I'm a sucker for just fucking busting in with a shotgun and, like, tearing up lycanthropes and shit.
See, and that's going back to what I said earlier. 8 does its own thing in that regard, but it does it well, because 8... Again, better. It has a much better variety of enemies. The enemy design is better in this game in terms of how they move and how they work. And there's also just way better emphasis on the weapons. So if you like the combat of 8, then the lack of puzzles isn't going to bother you. I think where 8 kind of falls short is as a Resident Evil game. And that's a very common complaint with a lot of Resident Evil games in the past like 15 years, and I don't want to beat a dead horse. And I want to be very clear. It doesn't make 8 bad. It just, for me personally, what I expect out of a Resident Evil game, it makes me prefer 7. Just in that regard. It
falls short in some ways.
Yeah, it falls short in some aspects. But if you love Resident Evil 4, if you love that style of game, then Resident Evil 8 is going to be one of your favorites. Like, easily. It'll probably break your top 3, if not be your second favorite, or it might dethrone 4 for you. You know, who knows? If you have not played 8 yet at this point, if you're a Resident Evil, I don't know how that would be possible, but just in case, you know, anything can happen, anything's possible. 8 is a solid game, a great game. Easily, I don't know, 8 out of 10. I don't score things. But personally, I think for me personally, I think some of those issues are pretty apparent. And the reason it bothers me so much is that we're getting a Resident Evil 4 remake.
Which I feel like is the most unnecessary one they've come out with so far.
I think Code Veronica deserved it more. I know that's not as beloved as Resident Evil 4, not by a long shot. In fact, Code Veronica is more obscure than probably any game in the Resident Evil series. That's the mainline games anyway. I'm not going to say any game because I don't think anyone knows what Survivor is anymore. Unless you watch Catechris's episode on it, because I think he's the only major YouTuber out there that actually covered that one, to my knowledge. Who knows? Maybe the Completionist did an episode on it. Yeah, I think that it's going to be so... Like, I get it. Tank controls are kind of weird, but I would argue in 4, they're not as arduous as the original games. Like, I think anyone can play Resident Evil 4. I truly believe that. If you like shooters even a little bit, you can play Resident Evil 4. It just takes a minute to adjust, but I would argue taking a minute to adjust applies to literally any video game. You got to get a feel for it. Once you get the feel for it, Resident Evil 4 just kind of takes off. And I feel like its remake is just going to be... Like, I'm probably going to love it, too, is the weird part. Like, we don't know exactly how much they're going to change, because, you know, things are going to get changed. They changed things in the original trilogy's remakes. They're going to change things for 4 remake. Otherwise, why remake it?
They're definitely not remaking 5. I mean, they're just going for the cash cow games.
Dude,
that's a cynical view, but I feel like it's true.
No, I think they will, because 5, despite fan reception getting a little weird over the past couple years, Resident Evil 5 is still the best-selling Resident Evil game, I believe.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I think it did outsell like all the others.
Online multiplayer can do a lot for a franchise, but I think they're going to. I think they're going to change 5 a lot when they remake it. I'm going to say when. I think they will. But with 4, it just feels so unnecessary. I feel like we're getting at the age where we're remaking, like not just remastering and updating the graphics. No, this is a full-on remake. The structure is going to be different. The voice acting is going to be different. The script is going to be changed. The beats are going to be different. Everything's going to be different to a large degree. When you start doing that to PS2, GameCube, Xbox era games, One, it makes me feel old, but everything makes me feel old, so that's not really a big deal.
Yeah,
To
that's
me,
fair.
that I don't know, it feels very unnecessary. Updating the controls is one thing, but like I'm trying to think, like take a PS2 game like Kingdom Hearts 1 for example. Despite the camera being a little wonky, the game still is solid. The game functions. Anyone can play Kingdom Hearts 1 in my opinion, unless it's like some kind of accessibility thing where you can't use a normal controller. I think if you're able, you can play that game just fine. I would hold the same opinion of Resident Evil 4. So if like Square Enix remade Kingdom Hearts 1 and they just made it completely different to update the game or whatever, I'd probably be singing the same tune because it just seems so unnecessary to me. A graphical overhaul, all for that. That's great. Old graphics can be hard for some people. Some people. But to fully redo the game and knowing Capcom, they're never going to re-release the original version again? That just kind of brings out my game preservation boner and it upsets me. Because they re-released Resident Evil 4 on everything. It's hard to find someone who hasn't played it at this point. It goes on sale all the time. Yeah, on your toaster. And you're not kidding. Android toaster. But, like, the game goes on sale constantly, too, for, like, $8. I don't know. I feel like releasing 8 and then doing a 4 remake, like, right after, I feel like it's going to feel redundant.
Yeah, it's a weird announcement too, considering the fact that they're hardcore working on that 8 DLC now, right? Like,
well, they're separate teams.
I guess so.
They're separate teams. They have to be.
I just feel like Capcom, I'm afraid, is getting a little dangerously close to the Sega problem, where they have 1 or 2 IPs and that's it. Because
the Street Fighter's still a thing, and they're actually like re-releasing all their old shit. So
yeah, I'm just worried that they're gonna start steering in that direction. Because we do have Street Fighter, and Mega Man 11 did come out after a couple fucking years, but whatever.
Well, he's dead again, so I guess you're kind of right in that regard. Mega Man hasn't had a game since 2018. Yeah,
so we're slowly but surely steering to exclusively Resident Evil 8 and Resident Evil games, and sometimes Street Fighter.
Well, Street Fighter is a slow series. They can't just pump those out anymore because the standards for fighting games are so much different now that you can't they can't just crank out 6 Street Fighter games in the span of 10 years, and 3 of those 6 games was Street Fighter 2.
I just think that Capcom has a lot of properties they can work with nowadays. I would like to see that.
Well, they released the Devil May Cry 5 did happen not too long ago, and it also because it came out the same year as 2 remake, I think, Resident Evil 2 remake, and it got a PS5 upgrade with like additional content.
Nice.
So those games take time to come out. Resident Evil games probably come out so much because they're short. The mentality's a bit different
games.
there. But you're not completely wrong, though, Nathan. I do see a bit of discourse on it because, when was the last time we had a Darkstalkers game? You could argue that's more of a Street Fighter thing more than a Resident Evil thing because those have nothing to do with each other. But I think that Resident Evil is just popping off a lot harder than their other game franchises right now. And I don't want it to fall into that area. I really don't. Because even Sega is getting better at it now because we're not just getting Sonic all the time anymore.
Sonic.
Yeah, that was really annoying for a long time. Like, I think that I think 7 was the spark of it, but with the remakes, I think a lot more people are playing Resident Evil these days. Like, to play the series. Like, more Let's Players are getting into it, and it's becoming more of a trend to know what Resident Evil is just right off the bat. And because for the most part, you can play all the games rather comfortably on any system. I think that they've just seen like some kind of resurgence, and Capcom's like, yo, I'm making a lot of money off this shit.
Yeah. I feel like Resident Evil 7 definitely revitalized the series in a big way.
Probably, even though it didn't sell the greatest.
Yeah.
It's all good. Just
I
not
feel like
to
it was
their unrealistic expectations.
Yeah, it was a bit unrealistic of how much they wanted to sell, but it was still a really good selling game, and it's still a very good game. Like by all standards, it's a very
It
good
was
game.
like $2 million, I think.
And I feel like what was the time span between Resident Evil 6 and 7?
5 years. Not exactly, but 5 years, because Resident Evil 6 was 2012. You know, I got the mouse here. I'm gonna fucking.
So
look
it
up.
was kind of just out of
2012 to
nowhere.
2017.
Also, Resident Evil 7 kind of just shadow dropped, if I'm not mistaken. A couple of like teasers came out for it, like just little bits and pieces of the game.
Oh no, the
for teasers to
campaigning
play.
for that game was excellent. They did a lot of excellent campaigning for 7. It got shadowed. The release date, yeah, it got shadow dropped, but like the build up to it, they were all over that game because they released like 6 different demos, which were all
Yeah.
different.
It got a little bit of crap because that shit came out like right after PT got canned, and people saw the similarities to like PT and the teasers. It was like, ah,
It also
shit.
came out like the worst time of the year. Like movies and games should never come out in January.
Yeah.
We should suffer. No, January is the worst selling time because it's like right after the holiday season. So Resident Evil 6 was October 2nd of 2012. I don't know if that's worldwide. And then Resident Evil 7 was January 23rd of 2017. So that was around 4-ish years, but close to 5 years.
Yeah, and that's like without any supplementary content or like even confirmation other than like when those random gameplay trailers drop.
Well, re-releases of older games at the very least happened in between there because I think Resident Evil 1 and 0 got ported to modern consoles. But anyway, I'm really excited for the future Resident Evil. I think it's very odd what they're doing with 4 remake and stuff. But you know, I'm really I'm gonna be excited. I'll probably change my tune entirely by the time I play it because I know it's gonna be good because I love Resident Evil.
I think it's gonna be fun.
Despite if I've come off a little negative, Resident Evil 8 is great. Go play it if you haven't already. Even if you don't give a crap about Resident Evil in general. I'm excited for the DLC. I want to play as Lady D in Mercenaries really bad.
Yes.
And
I have a mighty need.
I actually am kind of interested in that Resident Evil verse multiplayer thing that's supposed to be happening that Capcom seems to have forgotten about. Because, I don't know, multiplayer Resident Evil was cool to me.
Yeah, sounds like it'd be fun.
I liked Resistance. Sue me.
Sue me. So yeah, we are about done and dusted here, but we got one more thing before we go.
Oh no.
I hate that fucking baby. I lost sleep over that thing.
I'm gonna be honest, it wasn't that bad. Resident Evil 7 gave me more scares than the 8, and
Now-
that's not due to the quality of 7. I was just more of a bitch when I played 7.
Now here's
I
the thing
don't-
with me. I had a very specific situation with that one. So
Well, you did it late at night, didn't you?
it was like 2 a.m.
Ah.
and completely dark in the room I was playing in, and it just kind of happened.
Yeah.
And it traumatized me. I looked up a walkthrough because I refused to be confused to the point where I'd die. I did not want to die. I refused. I absolutely refused. I didn't want to see
The
it.
death
I didn't want to know
animation for
about
that
it.
baby is great, though. I didn't see it my first playthrough. I looked it up on YouTube. It's great.
I don't want to see it. I don't want to know about it. It's like genuinely terrified me to the point where I was like shaking. Like it offset me in such a horrible way that I was fucking like freaking out.
I saw it.
It got me that bad.
Fuck that, and then went about my merry way.
I mean, the umbilical cord was gross, and I will admit it is very disturbing, but I'm sorry, it's not scary to me. It's like, it's gross, and like, I know, I get it. It hits the uncanny valley. Like, I understand that, but I was laughing. I'll tell you what. I kind of did myself a disservice. I played this, disservice, quote unquote. I played this game with a friend, like, entirely. And she was horrified. No, she was uncomfortable. About as uncomfortable as you were, Nathan. Like, she wouldn't look at it. And
No,
I was laughing my ass off. Maybe that's why I didn't find it scary, but to be honest, I think Resident Evil has done a little better.
Yeah,
honest.
I mean, I get that. I understand. It's not the scariest thing in the world. Fine. That's okay, and I can completely let you have that. It's just,
I'm a freak of nature.
for me, it's every single thing that fucking terrifies me. It struck that nerve. It was
Babies
dark.
terrify me.
It was really dark. It was like really Like, because something I like about Resident Evil is it disturbs me because I hate, not hate, I hate it to the point I love it, you know. You love to hate type of deal. It has a lot of like weird body horror and body contortion stuff like that, and I hate that. It always skeeves me out. So it was completely dark. I didn't know what to do. It was very like distorted and unknown and weird and creepy. And also the fucking noises it make. I can hear them in the back of my head. It's literally giving me goosebumps right now. I hate the fucking cries and the weird distorted like like moans and like halfway like baby babble speech it was throwing at me while it was looking for me whenever I was hiding like in the closet in that room and shit. And
The
it just
sound design was great. I think that honestly, I think they could. I think they could do more with that. I think you could do more. Take that like uncanny valley stuff they do with the baby and make it more apparent. Maybe maybe not. Maybe that would ruin it. You know, maybe it wouldn't be as scary. But I think making an entire Resident Evil game based on creatures that look kind of are in that same style, same like spirit, I think would be really good. You'll probably get too many people bitching that it's too close to Silent Hill, but you know, you're never getting another Silent Hill game for the rest of the time. So you might as well just let someone else try it.
Yeah. So
I'm
it's
prepared
just
to put my foot in my mouth. I really hope there's another Silent Hill game, but I got the foot ready.
yeah, the foot is ready. It's just it was a personal thing for me, dude. I just
No, I understand. No, really. I mean, Dylan wasn't scared either, but you know, me and Dylan are broken.
so, I just had such a visceral reaction to it. And after I was done, I was like, I gotta put this game down for a minute. So and I didn't come back to it for like a
6
month.
months.
Not 6, but about a month.
4 months.
I just it was because here's the thing. I'm talking about it in a retrospective way that I fucking hated it because I did, but I hated it in the best way. Because here's the thing. I love good horror. I would say I even adore good horror. And like it's something that made me feel that way, so anxious, so terrified, so uncomfortable. It's just a full-on, like, hats off to you, fucking brilliant type of hate. You know what I mean?
I agree. You're like, I wasn't scared of it that bad, but I do think it was well done. I agree with that entirely. You know, again, I feel like I'm coming off really negative towards 8. I gotta stop that. It was a good section. It really was.
I know we're dragging on, especially to Dylan's chagrin.
Yeah, Dylan's falling asleep.
I know Dylan's tired. I'm sorry, buddy. But just one more thing before we go. I decided to watch Markiplier's part on Resident Evil 8 that involved that section. And his reactions to that are so priceless because there's no fear, there's no terror. He literally calls out every single thing that the game is going to do perfectly. And he's like, I knew it! I knew it! And it was, like, that man can make the scariest games just absolutely hilarious to watch. And it's an amazing talent. Fucking... I know I'm calling out one of the biggest YouTubers on the fucking planet, so it's chilling to the max.
Yeah,
degree,
the guy
but
has like 60
guy.
billion subscribers.
He deserves it. Like, I don't
No,
like
I'm not
to talk
saying
about
he
other
doesn't. I'm
YouTubers.
just saying, I was like, anyone watching this probably already knows who he is. Has probably watched that same playthrough.
Yeah, I don't really like to talk about
funny.
like, you know, other YouTubers in the sense of like I know them or who they are or whatnot, because I don't. Of course I don't. But at least I feel like he shows enough character to make it worthwhile to put a lot of blind trust and belief that he is a good person that I can gladly say I support him. So that's
Considering all
off.
the charities he donates to, I'd say that, you know, at least, if nothing else, he's done a lot of great things, so that he's got that going for him. So, I mean, like, even if he was actually a bad person, he's done so much good that it's not like it cancels out. No, it's more like, well, the joke's on him.
I just think I don't believe that. Like,
no, I don't either.
There's no way in hell you can be, despite the fact of, you know, it's still possible, but
No,
I
I'm
feel
not
like
saying
it's
that.
very
No.
unlikely that someone who puts that much time and effort into trying to be a good person and trying to do the right thing that they could not be.
Why we're bad people.
I mean, you'll see slowly but surely why we're assholes, but you know.
I don't know what the hell was even that last 5 minutes. So thank you all so much for watching. You know, as always, we really appreciate you guys sitting through us talking about nothing and sometimes something. You make sure you check out the About Us page in the channel, and you can find our social media, Bloomfeld Pod, on Twitter, which you can find our personal Twitter accounts from there because it's the only Twitter accounts that podcast account follows. And you can find me on Twitch because, fun fact, I'm streaming again. I streamed,
Oh, yeah.
actually.
Man's back
Dillon,
into it, and
Dillon-
Dylan can be there sometimes too.
yeah, Dylan was there for it. Dylan's going to be showing up a lot because I'm playing Fallen Order now, and I love Star Wars. I mean, no, I don't. I respect everyone of all cultures. Fuck Star Wars. It's terrible and toxic. Yeah, I love Star Wars. I love Star Wars. Anyway,
I love Star Wars. Hate Star Wars fans.
oh god, no. Ugh, that could be a topic for another day. We could rip into Star Wars fans. We need to. I want to do that. I want to make an episode where we just hate bad people.
I
wanna do that.
mean, we could also just do a Star Wars episode. That could be a byproduct.
We need to go through every single Star Wars movie, like at least the first 6. We don't have to talk about Rogue One or any of that other shit. I just want to talk about like the first. I want to do in-depth reviews of all 6 movies.
We'll just talk
Can
about
we
a bunch
do
of
that?
Star Wars shit one day. That'd be cool.
I want to do that. Dylan wants to do that when he wakes up.
Dilly's still with us, buddy.
I'm not asleep. I'm just fucking quiet.
You're
Sorry.
asleep. We woke him up. Damn it. We'll see you guys in the next one. Any
thanks.
final words, gentlemen?
Thanks for watching. Bye bye.
Dylan,
No.
that was a word.
Thanks for watching. Again.
They don't know I'm still recording. I could end it now. I'll think about it. All right, I'm ending it. Bye.